All right, let's break it all down with the two-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. B-Mac, we got to talk about that decision first and foremost for the first-time head coach and Nathaniel Hackett. 64 yards, trots out Brandon McManus on 4th and 5 instead of trying to go get the sticks. What did you make of that decision, a big one in his first game at the helm?
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. We know Brandon McManus has a strong leg, but 60-plus yards in that atmosphere is a tall task for him, for any kicker in the National Football League. And oh, by the way, it's 4th and 5. You traded for a franchise potential Hall of Fame quarterback for moments like this, right? This is why you added Russell Wilson to your team. This is why you gave away so much to get him. It's because of opportunities like this. He is on the sideline. Give number 3 an opportunity to make a play. It's 4th and 5. It's not like it's 4th and 10. It's not like it's 4th and 15. It's 4th and 5. That's a manageable opportunity on 4th down with a player like Russell Wilson. I did not like the call, and because of that attempt clearly was a tall task to ask of your kicker, and they came up short.
Yeah, and it even looked like the 3rd down play call looked like they had 4 downs in mind, and then they call the timeout, elect to take that kick, and it ends up costing them here. You talked about Russell Wilson, his debut here in Denver. Not exactly what his team is looking for. It had the yardage, didn't really have the touchdowns or the stretch plays downfield outside of a long one to Jerry Jeudy, their lone touchdown of the game. What did you make of the debut here in Denver? I know a lot of pressure was on Russ's shoulders, and this moment was going to be a tough one here against the 12s, but he did leave plenty to be desired through one game.
No question, Joe. You can tell Russell Wilson was rusty. The entire offense was rusty. I understand he had over 300 yards throwing, but if you take away that 60-plus yarder to Jerry Jeudy, his numbers are not like that outside of that huge play that was a, missed opportunity, to say the least, from the defender who didn't locate the football. But they didn't look efficient. The rhythm wasn't there. The chemistry wasn't there. How many times watching this ball game, Joe, did you see the offense, Russell Wilson, barely getting the snap off? I mean, they were throttling the fence the entire ball game with the play clock. I don't know what was going on, but the chemistry wasn't there. Maybe because of the lack of snaps in the preseason played a lot to the mishaps that from what we saw when it comes to their offense. But he didn't look like the Russell Wilson that we've grown to see throughout his professional career.
Yeah, that rush to the goal line, rush to the clock at least, cost him a fumble around the goal line there in the 3rd quarter as well. So the continuity in this offense trying to get on the same page was a struggle for Wilson. On the flip side, Geno Smith, with no expectation and no pressure on his shoulders other than to be the guy here in Seattle, makes an emphatic statement here on Monday night.
No question. Geno played good football. I understand number-wise, if you look at the stats, he didn't have the best day. But just watching the flow of the ball game, he had a better day than Russell Wilson. He outperformed Russell Wilson. He was more efficient. He took chances. He scored more points. He threw 2 touchdowns. He has a better passer rating. Geno Smith played well. He left it all on the line. The thing about Geno that I had concerns with, will he play smart football? Will he take what the defense is giving him? Will we see him force some things, or will we just see him just, do what he's supposed to do? No turnovers led to the Seahawks being able to win this ball game. That's what he did. He kept his defense within reach of doing what they have been called to do, which is ball out and which is put the Denver Broncos offense in tough situations. So Geno did everything you wanted him to do, plus more. He made things happen with his legs. But most importantly for me, no turnovers for Geno Smith.
Yeah, protected that football, moved the chains when they needed to, really fed off the energy of that crowd in the first half. Only 3 total points, B-Mac, in the second half. But sort of zooming out here for a moment, because this is a Broncos team that's going to have to play a tough divisional schedule, but still has plenty of expectation out in front of them. When you look at that division, Niners, Rams, Cards lose. That is the Seahawks division. The Seahawks are the only team to win in the NFC West. A statement here from this team in a division that proves to be year after year extremely competitive. What do you make of what we saw in that division here in week 1?
I mean, it's a division of unknowns, right? What we thought, we have yet to see. We felt like the Rams would be the best team, but granted, they did not look their best this past Thursday night against the Buffalo Bills. We saw an unexpected loss by your Chicago Bears to the San Francisco 49ers, and not the best conditions, but a win is a win. And Arizona, I don't know what to think of Arizona, especially with no DeAndre Hopkins in the lineup. So right now, in first place in the division is Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. That's the reality right now in the NFC West.
B-Mac, we got to get back to this game as well because the Broncos, they play in an extremely difficult division as well, and we'll need to clean plenty up. And at the top of that list is red zone offense. The play calling was questionable. No real shots to the end zone inside the 20. Nathaniel Hackett really electing to get that ball down underneath, and they couldn't get into the end zone. 0 for 4 in their 4 trips to the red zone. What does that tell you right now about this offense, about this play caller, and maybe what we can expect in terms of things that needed to be cleaned up?
Well, Joe, that goes back to what I was saying with Russell looking rusty. The entire offense looked rusty. They were not in sync the entire ball game, especially in the red zone. The flow was not there. We saw a team in Seattle offensively who seemed to be more in sync. Remember, Geno Smith and his offense played a lot together in the preseason. I understand you got to be mindful when it comes to injuries to key players, but at some point in time, you got to find a way to establish a rhythm so you're not searching for that rhythm in the first meaningful ball game. And that's what we saw. Outside the red zone woes, what about the penalties? 12 penalties for 106 yards. That's losing football. Then you talk about 2 fumbles, not just in the red zone, but inside the 5-yard line. That's unacceptable. So we saw sloppy play up and down, especially on the offensive side for the Denver Broncos. And they allowed, this is a team that went into this ballgame, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, they were 6.5-point favorites, right?
6 at kick, 6.5 all week, but they were highly favored. Yes, B-Mac.
Highly favored because we felt like they were the more talented team with the more talented quarterback, but because of the sloppy nature in which they played with, and not just having the rhythm and chemistry they needed to have, especially when they got to the red area, they took a huge loss. And I can tell you this much. When you're in the AFC West, I understand there's no guaranteed victory in the National Football League. But when you're in the AFC West and you have playoff aspirations, you got to win the games you're supposed to win. On talent, on paper, the Broncos were the more talented team. But when you watch the film, they were not the best team tonight.
Yeah, no doubt a disappointing debut here in Denver for Russell Wilson. He loses to his former team. Baker loses to his former team. Joe Flacco loses to his former team. So maybe the grass is not always greener. Obviously, different situations across the board there. But I do have to ask you the question of what you learned here, because it is overreaction season after week 1. Do you feel like you learned more about Denver tonight or more about Seattle?
I learned more about Seattle. They played with heart. They played with a lot of confidence. They were hitting people. This is a physical game. If you didn't know any better, you thought both of these teams were in the same division, the way they were going back and forth, especially Seattle. They brought the fight to Denver. I was a bit surprised. I was surprised to see how they started the game, and then I was surprised to see how well they finished the game as well, especially the defense. You know, we don't know the status of Jamal Adams. He went down with an injury. We know he's a key contributor to what they do on the defensive side, but I learned more about Seattle. They really fought today, and they played with a lot of heart.
Week 1 officially in the books. Mac, man, we appreciate you as always. We'll see you soon for week 2.
Yes, sir.
And don't forget, we got all things covered. P2 and B-Mac breaking it down with some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment. Can't miss conversations each and every week. Download, subscribe, and enjoy All Things Covered.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.